Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the High Stakes Fantasy live stream. Tonight, it's a RotoWire Online Championship live stream. I'm Tom Kessenich. He is Geoff Stein, and we are going to get you all ready to go for our second live stream of the evening. Davis Matek did the first one earlier tonight on his YouTube channel. We are on our YouTube channel tonight, Geoff. So, two big live streams tonight with the RotoWire Online Championship draft. So we got a lot of things going on as the NFL season unofficially kicks off. It's not official, Geoff, because preseason doesn't really count, but I guess we can say the season is underway in some fashion. Have you been watching the game tonight at all? The Hall of Fame game at all with the Bears and Texans?
I had it on for a few minutes, and then just like everything else, you realize, oh, there's no one I know really playing. I did see, Brett Rippon and Davis Mills.
Yeah.
A couple of guys that are probably going to quarterback for the Broncos in Week 17 or something like that. I just can't get into it. Especially, now that I'm working here, I can't play the DFS anymore. It's something like that, and I'm not much of a gambler on a preseason game. I don't think there's much handicapping to do there. So it got old pretty quick, and then obviously we got a lot of drafts going tonight. This is our second. RotoWire Online, as you mentioned, we're trying to fill the midnight owl at 11:55. But there's an auction going, so if you see me mute and then do something, I'm monitoring the auction. I'm monitoring the draft we're going to be talking about here. Busy night, busy day. Started this morning, 9 a.m., waking up to start up our first extended primetime draft. We did the town hall with Greg at 5 o'clock, and here we are at 9 o'clock, and I'm busting open caffeine to keep myself awake for that midnight owl a little later on. It's that time of year.
That's right. So, all right, we won't keep Geoff on too long tonight, but we want to get through a few rounds of this draft, certainly, to let everybody know what's going on in the RotoWire tonight. I'll bring the big board up here for everybody. We're going to start this up in about 30 seconds tonight. Again, 20 rounds, $250,000 grand prize on the line in the RotoWire Online Championship. Like Geoff said, we had this is our second one of tonight. So we're going to try to sell out the Night Owl a little bit later on at 11:55. So if you want to get into that, go ahead to sign up at playnffc.com. We got a lot of great things going on. Like Geoff said, we got an auction going on right now that he's monitoring as well. So a lot of drafts, auctions happening. Big week, big weekend coming up. So stay tuned. Check out our daily email tomorrow. A lot of exciting things happening as Christian McCaffrey is the first player going off the board. Yeah, Jay, as Jay Wimmer's joining us in the chat. It's the midnight owl, the night owl. Call it what you want, Jay, but 11:55 p.m. Eastern is the RotoWire Online Championship draft. We'll call it whatever you want to call it, as CeeDee Lamb and Bijan Robinson are the next two picks. So, yeah, Geoff, again, a lot happening as the preseason is underway officially in the NFL. We got a lot going on coming up this weekend, don't we?
Yeah. There's going to be drafts aplenty. Afternoon, we're going to have the Friday afternoon drafts. There's some tomorrow. Obviously, Saturday, Sunday, there'll be afternoon drafts. I'll even open up the late ones. We've had requests for a 1 a.m. RotoWire, and I've opened a couple of those up. We haven't filled any of those quite yet, but I think at some point we will. So if you can draft it, we're ready to host it, I guess is a good way of putting it. And that starts this weekend. That starts today. That starts tomorrow. We're ready for you here at the NFFC.
That's right. Amon-Ra St. Brown is the fifth pick, and then Breece Hall goes sixth overall in this draft tonight. So, yeah, come on into the chat tonight. Ask us some questions. You got any questions about this draft in particular, or any questions about our live events coming up in New York and Las Vegas, or just NFFC in general? Be happy to answer those questions tonight. Again, if you want to join us in Las Vegas or New York, we've got openings for the first weekend. That's playnffc.com. The drafts are coming up real soon, folks. The end of the month, Labor Day weekend for the New York, and that first weekend in Las Vegas before Geoff and I head on off to join Greg out there for week number 2, which is going to be the big weekend. I think nearly 60 live events will be happening that second weekend out in Las Vegas. But again, for the first weekend in Vegas and then the weekend in New York, we do have openings for both locations. So If you want to join us in Vegas, contact Greg. If you want to join us in New York, contact me. Be happy to get you all set up there. A lot of great openings for drafts and auctions. Auctions in New York, I think all the auctions in Vegas are sold out now, but I do have 2 spots left in auctions in New York City. So if you want to join us, be happy to have you there. Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, excuse me, 7th, Jefferson 8th, AJ Brown, Garrett Wilson, and Jonathan Taylor, and then Marvin Harrison Jr. jumping into round number 1 in this draft tonight. Puka Nacua begins round number 2.
Yeah, I want to ask you a question here in a minute. I want to see one guy go before I ask it because I don't like talking about players that haven't gone yet. But just kind of like something that you may have noticed over the years that I'm kind of curious about. We talked about it on the 5 o'clock town hall a little bit, and that got me thinking a little more. So once next guy goes, I'll ask you. But I'm gonna point out St. Brown going number 5 overall. What was it? Was it a cut line? He went first overall that you posted on Twitter a few days ago.
No, it was a RotoWire.
It was a RotoWire. Okay, yeah. So, geez, number 1 overall. I'm warming up to him as my number 3 wide receiver over Chase and Jefferson and Brown and that little bubble there. I think he's kind of become my solid number 3, and almost how this draft has started is kind of how I think I'd rank things right now. To be honest with you, St. Brown again. When you watch that receiver show, that's all I heard about him talking about how beat up he was and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And again, that offense. Again, we'll talk about some guys later on, but I think he's just going to have a huge role in that offense. I think that offense isn't going to miss a beat. And I'm liking St. Brown as my wide receiver 3, and I'm liking him as my overall number 5 right now, I think.
Well, there's Michael Goodrich, who certainly is a great auction player without a doubt. He's saying he's going to get into his first auction on Monday night. So,
Nice.
yeah, we got a great auctions, online auctions, live auctions. So, yeah, Michael is certainly one of the premier auction players in the industry. So there you go. But yeah, I do like Amon-Ra St. Brown as well. He's not my 5th overall player, but he is my wide receiver 3 overall. I agree with you. CD Lamb, Tyreek Hill, and then Amon-Ra St. Brown. That's the order I have them as well at wide receiver. He's not 5 overall on my board, but he is wide receiver 3 on my board right now as well. I agree with you completely. I feel much more confident in him than any of the other wide receivers who are going in that group there in round 1, without question.
Yeah, there's some warts on those guys, and we talked about before. And don't get me wrong, I mean they're studs. But we've talked in previous broadcasts about Chase and Jefferson. Kind of worry about their quarterback situation. AJ Brown, there's a ton of guys there, and Garrett Wilson. That one pretty much explains itself with what happened last year. So here it is. Saquon Barkley. We were talking about him earlier, and he went what? He went number 12 overall in the first prime time that kicked off today.
Yep.
Running back 4. How do you and I kind of made a joke about the free look on that Friday. How do you think that affects? The contest I was with before didn't really offer the free look. They did last year for the first time, and I think they did away with it again. So, but do you think that people use that as a decision? Like when you get to the Saquon Barkley, the Jonathan Taylor, the Jahmyr Gibbs, do you think is that something that you would take into account? One, is it something that other people, and obviously, like, you don't want to start out by having to bench your first round, running back, number 12 overall, but you do have that option. And is that any kind of value tie break to you if you got all those guys the same?
I mean, I like Barkley. First of all, I think Barkley at 19 overall is a great value here in this draft. Getting a Hall Barkley start is fantastic for Team 6. I like that start. And Mike, we'll get to your question in a second about Kyron Williams. It's not a determining factor. I happen to like Gibbs out of those 3 running backs, Gibbs, Taylor, Barkley. I think they're very close. It's hard to decide. So I guess if you really want to go with that Friday night opener, in that case for the Packers and Eagles, you can maybe put Barkley ahead. But I just happen to like Gibbs of that group, so I'm not going to lean Barkley because they got that opener, the Friday game. But for me, it's Gibbs. And then if I want to decide between Barkley and Taylor, maybe I'd go Barkley because of that. But
And I mean, I think, and we kind of talked about it again at 5 o'clock. I kind of think that if he has a huge game, if he scores 2 touchdowns with 5 catches and 100 yards, he's going to shoot up. Don't you think? I mean, that
Right.
automatically puts probably ahead of Brees Hall, maybe even.
Yeah.
So I mean, I can see people taking that gamble that they're going to get a pretty good value if he has that big first game, and then that Saturday he comes around and he's going top 6 overall. And if you can
Right.
get him at 12, 13, I think that might be some people kind of hedging a little bit on if he does have that big game to start.
Right. And to answer Mike's question about Kyron Williams, I mean, the concern with Kyron is, I think, twofold. Mainly, it's Blake Corum. That's number one. It's Blake Corum, and his presence in this backfield right now. And number two, it's because Sean McVay has a history of backing off guys, even though they've been successful the year before. He's backed off his running backs, and he's gone in other directions. And Kyron Williams also has durability concerns. He's been a guy who's struggled to stay healthy. So it's those three things, but mainly it's Blake Corum. It's the presence of another running back in that backfield that's causing people to be a little concerned about him. That's why. And
Yeah,
looking
I'm
at
in on.
roster builds, go ahead.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm in on Williams this year. That is pretty early where he went there. I'm again not saying it's wrong. I like the guy quite a bit. I would definitely take Saquon over him though. But
Yeah.
I would have him ahead of Etienne and Achan and all these guys here that's kind of gone around him. But yeah, no, I don't know. It's just become one of those popular guys to fade somehow. You know what I'm saying? And again, you mentioned, the Corum thing, the injury type stuff. But man, that's going to be a pretty high powered offense again.
Right.
I kind of think people might be overthinking it a little bit. Just one of those group things that you just hear so many people say, "Yeah, I'm not interested," and he's going at the end of round 2 in a lot of these drafts, and I think he can provide incredible value even at that spot if he does anything like he did last year.
Yeah, he was RB2. I mean, he was basically right there behind McCaffrey in putting up monster numbers. So, yeah, if he's anywhere close to that, he's great value. And looking at roster builds, you've got 4 teams right now with 3 wide receiver starts: Team 5, Team 8, Team 9, Team 10, with 3 wide receivers in the first 3 rounds. So that's terrific builds. As we're looking at that, we got 1 team right now with a quarterback early for Josh Allen. Looking at Josh Allen's ADP in the last couple of weeks, he is QB1, but his ADP the last couple of weeks right now is about 36. So he's typically going right there at the beginning of round 3. So very early for Josh Allen, at least compared to the last couple of weeks in drafts, going 23 overall, about a full round earlier than he's typically going in drafts so far
And
recently.
I gotta point out here, Malik Neighbors. I think that's the guy that's got some major helium right now.
Yeah,
I
look at that.
posted the retweet on our Twitter about a camp catch. You can't beat those highlight videos from camp. But I mean, I think people are starting to come around on this guy, realizing that he is just going to get targeted a ton in that offense. And I think in that first prime time, I want to say he went 210 right after Jalen Waddle, so about the same here. And that right at the end of that, right at the end of these guys that I think Waddle was my last of these guys that I'd want to be my wide receiver one that I'd feel comfortable with. I think Neighbors is sneaking up into that territory. Yeah, and Paul mentioned it here. This is a guy with huge helium, and I wouldn't be surprised to see him going right behind Harrison when the big drafts come around if this hype continues.
Well, we got Paul Spateri here coming in with jokes in the chat. Appreciate that, Paul. Thank you very much. But he's right. I mean, right now they badly needed a number 1 wide receiver in that room, and they drafted Neighbors to be that. So we'll see. It all hinges on Daniel Jones, obviously. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, Jones in that offensive line, but again, I think with Jones under pressure a lot, his eyes are just going to be right on Neighbors, and he is just going to get, as Paul said, fed more than an Italian kid growing up.
Yeah. And Mike's talking about his running backs there. I mean, yeah, I mean, it certainly depends. I mean, those are good prices for running backs. I think, I don't have a problem with those prices at those running backs personally. No, I'm
Well,
fine with that.
and Williams is the cheapest of the 3 you listed, so yeah, that's incredible value there.
Yeah.
Jacobs, Williams, Cook, and Cook is another one of those guys that's kind of kind of starting to sneak. I mean, here we go. We just goes in the draft that we're
Just went
watching
off
here.
the board here, yeah.
He's kind of sneaking up there a little more. I think people are kind of realizing that Buffalo running back situation is going to be a lot of him. There's not going to be the guys of years past that who was there last year. I don't know. I'll say Singletary, but who was the other veteran running back they had there? That was
Who is somebody help me out in the chat. Who is the
yeah. It all melts
98-year-old
together. It
backup
all
running
melts
back they
together
had?
over the years. There's
No, they had
Latavius Murray was one.
Latavius Murray was there last year, yeah.
Yeah, I want to say might have been one other guy too that was there at some point. Damian Harris, the old Patriot guy. Is that who it
No,
was?
Harris was in New England last year.
Oh, he was in New England. Okay, well, either way, wherever it was, like it didn't seem like he was.
No, it was Latavius Murray.
He wasn't getting that full workload, and I think he's
No.
RB1 this year. He'll be off the field some. I'm a big fan of the Davis kid they got from Kentucky, the rookie. I think. Yeah.
Ty Johnson. Thank you, Paul. Ty Johnson was there at the tail end of the year. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean,
it was mainly the corpse of Latavius Murray that was a problem for James Cook last season.
Yeah. So he's another one of those guys that's been getting steamed up a little bit here. So when Michael talks about $24 in an auction, that's incredible value if you ask me. And again, I think I read somewhere he dropped 4 touchdown passes last year, Cook. And I mean,
he did have some problems with, and they didn't use him near the goal line at all because that was Latavius Murray's role.
And I guess and someone even said it. I'm totally stealing this from whoever I read it about, talking about it's like, well, he dropped 4 end zone targets, but I mean, he got 4 end zone targets. There's something to be said for that in a big way. If that's any better this year, he's in line for a huge year, in my opinion.
All right, so again, Team 5 continuing the wide receiver trend takes his 4th with Mike Evans. Team 8 also takes a 4th wide receiver. Team 9 does not take a 4th wide receiver, but ignores running backs. Team 10 does the same thing. They both take quarterbacks here. Jalen Hurts, Pat Mahomes. So we've got 4 teams now without a running back, going with all wide receivers, no running backs, and of course teams 9 and 10 with the quarterbacks there. So again, a couple interesting builds to the first 4 rounds.
Team
3 with what I would call the modified running back approach, going Bijan and then going with the 3 receiver. I'd call it the 3 pass catcher with Waddle, Laporta, and Pickens.
I like that start a lot.
For Team 3?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I like that start too.
Again, we always like to look at our stacks here with the.
Yeah, you're right. That was Damian Harris was with the Bills. Then he got hurt, and that's when they brought guys in. You're right. They started off with Damian Harris and James Cook at the beginning of the year. Harris was a short yardage guy. That's right. My bad.
Yeah, but again, all these generic running backs, big power backs, they all melt together. Talking about watching these preseason games. A lot of these guys are the same, and all the you're an old beat writer. Don't you think the running back position is just about opportunity more than anything? I mean, yeah, you'll get the Saquons and stuff of the world that are just, athletic freaks.
Yes.
But for the most part, it's just about getting that opportunity to carry the football more than anything.
Yes, absolutely. It's volume can cure a lot of ills in the backfield. There's no question. But from a fantasy perspective, absolutely. You get a guy who can get 15 to 20 touches a game. It's huge, but it's also about where you're getting those touches too. I mean, how you get the touches. Do you get them near the goal line? Do you get them in the passing game? It's like I talked about, I mean, I don't want to mention the guy because he hasn't been picked yet, but so I'm not going to talk about him, but it's how you get those touches, where you're getting those touches. And that's what frustrates me a lot with coaches and play callers when they don't use their talent intelligently. You'll if you follow me on Twitter on Sundays, you'll see me rant and rave about it. It has nothing to do with fantasy. It has to do with play callers who don't use their talent intelligently. It drives me insane. It's probably my biggest pet peeve about play callers. I mean, you can go back to when Todd Gurley was playing. It used to drive me crazy with Jeff Fisher and the Rams. They never used Todd Gurley the right way.
No, I mean, yeah. Good old Jeff Fisher, that name. Good old
Yeah.
8-8 Jeff Fisher. The name sends shivers down football fans' spine
You know,
just
you
hearing that
you
name.
you have players and who have certain skill sets use those skill sets. I mean, James Cook's a great example of that. We talk about James. The Bills took forever to use James Cook the right way. It wasn't until they changed coordinators that they finally started using him the right way, you know? And, but again, it was like, I don't know, 6, 7, 8 games into the season before they finally figured it out. And it wasn't like James Cook wasn't doing good things with the football. He was, but they just weren't using him right. And they still, for great chunks of the season, weren't doing it right. I mean, there's no reason for Latavius Murray to be on the field as often as he was last season. It was ridiculous. But that's
He
what they
holds
were
the
doing.
he held on to the football. I guess that was his saving grace for Murray.
Yeah, but Cook had a few instances where he had problems with the ball, but it wasn't a chronic, it wasn't like every week James Cook was dropping the ball.
No,
He had a couple of games where he dropped it a few times, but it wasn't like week in and week out he was dropping the football a lot.
I
So,
agree. I agree.
you know,
Bob in the chat points out the Hurts Brown
yep.
stack.
Yeah,
Let's
team
see.
9.
Yeah, let's see what else we can do here with this. We always like looking at these. We see the guys that have their quarterbacks. You Hurts. You got to get his guys early if you're going to try and stack. Obviously, AJ Brown, Devontae Smith. That's going to be a pretty expensive stack. But even looking at some of these other guys that have gone. We talked about Josh Allen. You missed the Kincaid here, and then again, Lamar Jackson. I've seen a lot of Jackson Andrews stacks so far this year, but
Yeah.
I think Kincaid going. I'm guessing that might have been the target for Team 2 here to handcuff them together.
Yep. And I agree with this one here. They don't trust Cook around the end zone. I agree. And that limits his upside. I don't think he's going to drop touch. And that's what concerns me about where he's being drafted. I don't see him getting positive touch. And this is just my opinion, but I agree. I don't see a lot of positive touchdown regression coming for James Cook.
See, I'm gonna go
I
the
just
opposite
don't.
there. I think it can be salvaged.
Yeah.
I what is this, year 3 for him? Just let the dude loose. It's time to see
Well,
what he is. We'll see
I
though.
love the guy. I'm a big fan, but I agree. I don't think they trust him near the end zone. I don't. But I thought the same thing about Travis Etienne last season too, and look at the year he had. So I could be wrong.
It happens. It hasn't happened yet, but you may be wrong for the first time in your life soon. You're
Oh,
due.
I've been wrong plenty.
I like Cook Allen together. Like I said, I think that's gonna be an incredible
Yeah,
combination.
those are fun stacks. I mean, we focus a lot on the quarterback receiver pass catcher stack, but quarterback running back stacks are good stacks to chase after as well. I mean, so I don't have a problem with that.
Too many shots.
That's the fun of it, Bob. You got to go against the best. You want to beat the best. That's a good point. The goal line back in Buffalo is Josh Allen. I agree with that one completely. Haley Steinfeld and I agree with you.
Rice is moving up. I mean, I think we talked about our last broadcast how that suspension. It's been pretty quiet on that.
Yep.
It looks like he's going to be out there, and I want to also point out Connor. It's looking more and more.
Yeah.
They were talking him up today, pretty big. I
Yep.
think he's moving up too. I think a lot of people worried about the rookie running back. It seems like that guy Benson from Florida State might be a little more behind and not as ready as some people were thinking. So Connor's shooting up too. I think I retweeted something on our NFC account an hour or so ago from the coach Gannon really speaking up where Connor's at. And
Yep.
again, he's one of those guys that isn't sexy, but if you're going to take one of those big wide receivers early on, I really, 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 really want to get someone like James Conner around these rounds.
Yeah, I agree. When he's on the field, you got to worry about health with him, but when he's on the field, he's just rock damn solid.
All our stacks are getting ruined in this one, though. The Andrews guy, the Kincaid didn't go to Allen. Andrews didn't go to Jackson. Now we got Rice and Brown going before the Mahomes owner. So the stacks are getting blown out of the water in this one. It's a ruthless group.
But you look at this, you look at round 6 here, and a talented group of running backs off the board here. Aaron Jones, James Conner, DeAndre Swift, Zamir White, Ramondre Stevenson, who I love in terms of value. That's a good group of running backs in round 6. So if you're looking, you're waiting on your RB2, or I mean, team 8, obviously, that's his RB1. But if you're waiting on running backs looking to get some depth there, that's a pretty good group there in round number 6.
There goes our guy Ridley with Hopkins out. Do you think that helps or hurts Ridley?
I'm not feeling a lot of excitement about that for the Titans right now. I mean, you want DeAndre Hopkins out there.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. But do you think people are saying, "Oh, there's more targets for Ridley," or do you think that's more of,
there's
"Oh,
more
that's more
targets, but
attention on Ridley from the opposing
lot more
defense"?
attention on him now.
Yeah, Treylon Burks, here we go again. With our we've talked about our guy Kyle Pitts that went last round a million times. Treylon Burks is getting ready to hurt me again too. I bet. Just can't give the guy up.
That's not a good situation now in Tennessee. There's a few bad injuries happening this week, unfortunately, in the NFL.
You say unfortunately, but man, it's kind of good to see that. I don't want to say it's good to see people hurt, but news, man. It's kind of been a quiet offseason. Greg, you and I have kind of talked about all that. Just like there hasn't been a ton of, it's been Caitlin Clark fever. We've talked about that a million times over, but there really hasn't been a lot of football news to sit down and digest and say, what does this do for this guy? What does this do for that guy? So I don't want to say I take pleasure in someone being hurt, but it is nice to see actual football news and saying, okay, well, what does that, what impact does that have elsewhere? And, obviously for us trying to fill drafts and such, it's a good thing, I think, when you see football news, people thinking football, people wondering about football, people saying, oh, I don't got enough shares of this guy now. I need to draft this guy ASAP on a team of mine. So it's a great time of year. And like you said, that first game today, all these highlights. I talked about the neighbors when I talked about, James Conner getting talked up. It's a wonderful time of the year, even though most of this stuff is probably complete BS that's only going to cost us in the long run.
And there's a massive stack now for Team 7, who goes Joe Burrow, T. Higgins, and Jamar Chase. That is a major Bengals stack right there for Team number 7.
That's pretty cool. I don't think I've seen that one this year.
I don't think I have either. He is all in on the Bengals passing game, that's for sure.
And there are worse passing games to be in on. So,
well, if you'd have done that last season, you'd have been done in week 1. That's for sure. You'd have been all done in week 1. So Team 7, I hope it goes much better than it did in 2023.
Yeah, I know a guy that had that last year. He's mentioned it a few times.
I only had a half of that last season, and it didn't go well after week 1. I didn't have any Higgins shares, but I had a whole bunch of Burrow and Chase, and it was not pretty.
That's pretty late for Stroud too, isn't it? That seems late to me. I don't know if you have the ADP pulled up ahead of you or in front of you.
But, for who?
CJ Stroud. Usually, he's kind of up there with that Richardson tier, isn't he? Round 7.
His ADP is, this is very late for him. His ADP is right around 62. So this is almost 2 full rounds later.
This is a good call from Bob here, too. The holdouts. I mean, I know Lamb. I think a lot of these receivers, right? Who is it? Lamb, and there was another one. Is it Chase? It's not. I don't think it was Chase, but there was another big receiver that's kind of sitting things out, it sounds like.
I'm not overly concerned about any of these situations at this point. I mean, I think they all get resolved. I mean, it's early. I'm not nothing looks like it's going to drag on too long. So yeah, Chase is holding in, as they say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not concerned.
Okay, yeah, it was Chase. Okay, so yeah, Lamb and Chase. Yeah, that stuff
Yeah,
always gets fixed. So
yeah, I'm not concerned at this point.
oh, here we go. Got to get this auction on pause. Got an alert in one of our running extended drafts, and I'm streaming. What a man of many talents I am, Tom.
All right. Well, I think we'll do a couple more rounds, get through round 9, maybe into round 10. Then I'll let Geoff get going because again, he's got a lot of things going on tonight. So don't want to keep him too distracted here. But yeah, as you can see, we are through round 7 into round 8 as we are almost 30 minutes into this draft. So real good pace again tonight. These drafts get done under 90 minutes, usually about 75 to 80. So
Wonderful
again, if you're
football
not,
drafts.
yeah, if you're not making sure you're checking out our daily emails that go out because we've got a lot of goodies in there for you. So those are nice to make sure you're seeing every single day.
Some more
And
QB love going here. Any stacks with these guys?
yep, he took Jaden
Ah,
Reed
there
the
you
round
go.
before.
A guy after your heart. You said you like Team 3. You got to love it now.
Yeah, he's got himself a very nice group of wide receivers there. Very team 3. Boy, that's a great roster build.
That looks like a Tom Kessenich team to me.
I I actually would not have taken Sam Laporte. I'm not a tight end early guy, but I do love the roster build. I really do. That's a really nice build.
Yeah, I like that as well.
It's a really nice build. Yeah, I mean, I don't take tight ends early, but I mean, Laporta is great. He's got his second RB there. I love Jaden. I mean, Jaden Reed as a wide receiver 4 is just stealing right now. And then he gets love, but that's fantastic. Boy, team 3. I don't know who team 3 is. We're not giving away who teams are. That's just boy. That's really nice.
Tom's in love.
That's a really nice build.
Oh, Kyler again. He's another guy. I know you got him in our auction.
Yep.
Going in this
I was
area.
gonna say, I like 5. I like what 5 is doing too. I mean, to start off with 4 wide receivers and then to get Walker and Swift, Ferguson, Kyle, that's a nice build. I think 5 is doing pretty well. We'll see what 6 does with his quarterback, who he's able to get, but I think 6 is doing pretty nice too.
You almost got to wonder if he was hoping Stroud would come back through there and pair him with Collins. You have to think that would
Yeah,
have been a
he
snap
might have been.
call.
He was probably. I mean, if I had to guess, he was probably sitting on a quarterback in this round, and one of those 3 who went right before him is probably who he was hoping was going to be there. He could have grabbed him because he didn't really need a 4th wide receiver, but I understand why he took Deontay. That's nice value. But he probably could have grabbed one of those guys, but I certainly understand why he took Deontay. That's a nice 4th.
Here we go. We talking Titans. I think we talked about it on our last broadcast. Spears and Pollard, back to back. That's one of those interesting situations to me to see. I don't know if I like both of them, but I don't know if I trust starting either of them week 1 because I guess nothing would
like
surprise
both.
me there.
Yeah, I like both of them. Yeah, I'm right there with you. I like both of them. I don't know if I want to be starting either of them in week 1. I want to see how it plays out. But I do like both of them, and I'd be very happy to have either one of them on my bench just to see how it works out because I do think both are really talented guys.
Team 10, Jamison Williams. I know that's a guy you were in on
Yeah.
a month and a half ago, and I I kind of thought you were crazy for that, but man, I'm here in Michigan. They are talking that guy up huge right now. They're expecting him to be an impact player from everything that I hear from the media around around the Lions in camp. It sounds like he's an entirely different dude this year.
Yeah, I got him for nothing in the auction. He's going to be sitting on my bench probably in week 1 because my running backs are so deep. That's probably going to be where my flex is at. Going to be my running back, my third running back, or my flex going to be a running back. So I'll be sitting on Williams to be on my bench.
Yeah, well, it's the value's starting to get sucked out of these things a little bit. Like I talked about the neighbors where he was going. We talked about Jameson Williams, even the Connors of the world. Some of these early teams, I'm guessing there's some people looking at some teams they drafted in June, July right now that are pretty happy with how these ADP trends are going on some of these guys right now.
I think so too. Honestly, I'm looking at my auction team in our auction league, and I'm like, I freaking love that team. I mean, it's stupid, but we did it in All-Star break in baseball. I'm like, I really freaking love that team. I wish there was more money in that league because I'd love to go to war with it in a big league.
I'll have to take a look at.
There's not enough juice in that league for me.
I don't really care much for mine. I'll have to take a look at yours. Maybe we can add a little sweetener to the pot to make it a little more worth your while.
Yeah, let's figure something out because I really do love that team. Of course, in a month they might all be hurt, but right now I'm like, God, I got to get some juice on that team because it's like I love that team.
Your baseball team's coming back. You love your football team. Everything's coming up, Tom. Here.
Well, let's not get carried away. All right, here we go. So we get deeper into round 9 again. I think we'll go one more round here, get halfway through this thing, and then I'll turn Geoff loose so we can finish up the night. Because, like I said, he's got a lot of stuff happening the rest of the night.
Yeah, we kind of stalled out on this midnight owl a little bit. Still 8 spots left. Let's get in there, folks. We can do it.
Come on, guys. You want to get into a draft tonight? Play nffc.com. Got the midnight owl, night owl, whatever you want to call it. It's the same draft. 1155, 250,000.
See, I think midnight owl sounds better, but I guess it's not midnight everywhere. So I can see why night owl might work a little bit better.
Doesn't matter. Call it whatever you want to call it.
It's midnight for me, and I'm the one that's watching it every night. So
there you go. That's right.
Stay at midnight owl because
it's whatever Geoff wants to call it because he's the one who got to stay up and watch the damn thing.
That is correct.
So let's see here. Do we have any further? DeAndre Hopkins goes 106th overall. Despite the fact he suffered that major injury today, I consider it major when you're out almost 6 weeks into the start of the season. I'm considering that a major injury.
Yeah, Bob mentions Team 6. I do, man. If you're going to start running back, I kind of like how it turned out the rest of the way for him here.
But he still has. I was just going to say it. He still has not taken a quarterback yet. I think he's the only one without one, right?
It appears that way, yeah.
Nope, Team 12 doesn't have one yet either. So 6 and 12 without a quarterback yet.
And there goes the first double quarterback.
Bob Morelli, a big fan of Team 6. I don't know if Bob's in the draft, if that's Bob's team. I don't know.
That'd be pretty sneaky if so.
Bob, if that is your team, stop it.
I can confirm it is not Bob's team.
Okay,
unless he's under an alias of some sort.
Unless he's under an alias. Or it's his brother or sister in the draft. Team 3 getting his second running back. He does not have to take another Robinson. That's not a prerequisite, but he just happened to do that.
Let's go back and look at that last round here real quick. Round 9. Look at all those rookie wide receivers: Coleman, Worthy, Thomas, Odunze, all going in the back half of that draft.
And
Do you have a preference of any of those guys?
probably Odunze, but Worthy's getting a lot of pub right now. Chiefs beat writers, that he's the one of that wide receiver group. I was thinking about this. We were talking about Rashee Rice earlier. Of that wide receiver group, Worthy's the one that the Chiefs beat writers can't stop talking about. And then Hollywood Brown is next. And the guy that I don't hear anyone talking about right now is Rashee Rice. I do
Interesting.
not see a single bit of anything about him right now. It's all Xavier Worthy, a little Hollywood Brown, and I don't hear anything about Rashee Rice right now.
And you've seen that. I mean, I've seen that bomb, that Mahomes, the Worthy bomb, a million times
Yeah.
on Twitter already.
Basically.
I was gonna say,
Go ahead.
a month ago, I was a Coleman guy. I said, "Oh, I think this guy's gonna step up." I'm kind of cooling down on him a little bit. Of all those guys, and I think he's kind of the least sexy of all of them. It's Brian Thomas in Jacksonville. I'm kind of thinking that that wide receiver 2 spot. I know they have Gabe Davis to go along with all those dudes down there. I'm kind of liking Brian Thomas down there, and
you need to take a look at my auction team.
Oh,
really need to take a look at my auction team.
Oh, never mind. I want to change it. Keon Coleman, it is.
You really need to look at my auction team.
Keon Coleman, it is. That Thomas, that guy's a bum.
Look at all the guys going to be sitting on my bench in week 1 at wide receiver that I can't start.
We will point out Team 6, Jaden Daniels. He's one of those guys that
yeah.
I'm seeing a lot of sharp guys on him this year. And it's obviously for the rushing and the rushing upside. We talked about Kyler. I don't see any reason he can't match what Kyler. We talked about how Kyler's moving up kind of. I kind of think he can match him 2 rounds later pretty easy. And I wouldn't be surprised to see Daniels get some helium here in the next couple of weeks and maybe even be at that level.
That's a nice guy to pick if you're. What Team 6 obviously was doing was super waiting on QBs. That's a nice way to go. I think that's a good pick as well. Yeah.
And even Team 12. All right, guys. Sorry, but our last team with the quarterback. That's a good spot to end it. Brock Purdy. Yep. We mentioned Team 12 didn't have one, so everyone's got their quarterback now. Man, you can wait and get Brock Purdy at the start of round 11. I think waiting on quarterback, and again, I'm sure you did that in the auction. Because I'm about to say something good about it.
No, I got Kyler in the auction.
So you won't find me arguing with getting Brock Purdy to be your quarterback 1 at the start of round 11. I like that move. I like the Daniels move in the middle of round 10 as well. I like what those 2 teams are doing.
Yeah. All right. I think, guys, we're going to let Geoff get going because he's got a lot of stuff to do, trying to sell out that night owl. Midnight Owl as well. So I want to thank everybody for joining us here tonight. Certainly going to try to do some more live streams as well. We got a lot going on this weekend. So again, check out our daily emails, check out our Twitter and Discord, the lobby, everything we got going on. I want to thank you all for joining us tonight. Again, if you want to join us in Vegas, New York, contact me, contact Greg. We'll let you know what we got available. But playnffc.com is where you can find everything we got going on for online drafts, for live events, for everything. On behalf of myself and Geoff, I want to thank you all again for joining us. Good night, everybody, and good luck in all your drafts tonight, tomorrow, the rest of the week, the rest of the month. And it's great to have football going on again.